show? Is there a talent show going on in your house now, Kat? And does that talent show feature animals? Turn the camera around. We need to see this. Welcome to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its continued influence today. Hey, my name is Will, and joining me, as always, are my friends and co-hosts, Kat and John. Hey, guys.
Hello, co-hosty friends.
Hey, greetings and salutations once more.
Hey. I don't like the way they do the internet these days. You know, John, you were talking about getting a better thing. We got fiber in our neighborhood. I think they just say that and they dig around for a little bit and then they put the dirt back and they just charge you more money. Because
you think they don't actually put down fiber is what you think?
I don't know. I mean, like I think the thing about it that frustrates me is we don't consistently have good internet. Now I know you're competing with other people, but it should still be within a range, a certain tolerance. They don't you don't just have the old modem like you used to have where it was connected by a ohm cable and then you have you could put cat cables into that or whatever.
Not you, Cat.
Cat, get in there. And there's little pucks they use where you can only, a puck is like a wireless thing, but you could also plug one, Cat 5 cable into it or whatever it is.
Yep.
Ethernet cable.
Wow.
Yep.
I think one of my pucks
sounds like you've built a mesh network. Yeah, all makes sense.
Oh, is that what that's called? A mesh network?
One of my pucks is all
or a wesh network.
Yeah.
I can't.
Hey, we're not going to talk about that. Although, in a sense, I guess later on we're going to talk about something related to the Terminator. It gives me hope that I'm not worried about Skynet because they can't even get this shit right. I mean, how are the AI going to take over if I can't get good? They won't have good speeds into my house, So,
You're saying when the robot overlords get to Will's house, he'll just have one bar and unable to kill him.
You're safe.
I'm going to be like
buffering, and you can get the hell out of there.
I'm going to be like the cold in War of the Worlds. I'm going to bring it all down once they hit my house. Just going to be a husk of robots all around when I come out of my house finally.
I love War of the Worlds.
There you go. Oh. Hey, on today's show, we're not going to be talking about any of that except the Terminator stuff. Instead, we're going to review current news stories related to 1980s media, including Mike Tyson's peers' fear for his upcoming fight, fear for him and his upcoming fight. Whoopi Goldberg explains how ghosts work. There's a Roadhouse sequel in the works. A Terminator, as I just mentioned, there's a Terminator anime in our near future. And speaking of dystopian futures, we may also see more Mad Max even beyond this forthcoming sequel. And that's it.
Oh.
And there's time codes if you want to time travel in the notes down below. Yeah. Hey, and don't forget to check out our buddy John over at his own show, where he does not time travel, but he will make it seem like the time flies by as he enlightens you with regard to a number of retro topics, most often related to video games and enlightening. I watched John play Indiana Jones, one of my favorite games from that era from the 2600.
Oh, yes.
And of course, as always, there's stuff I knew about, and then there's stuff that John knows about.
Oh, did you learn something you didn't know? How fun.
Yeah.
Great.
Folks can do that too. Hey, all right. Hey, that's enough of that. Let's get started on 1980s news. All right. Hey, first up, as reported by Deadline, Mike Tyson is drawing concerns from his boxing peers over his Jake Paul fight.
Yeah.
And I bring this up because whether you call him Iron Mike, Kid Dynamite, or the baddest man on the planet, Mike Tyson is regarded as one of the greatest heavyweight boxers of all time. And that is a recognition, a title that began in the 1980s. In fact, specifically on November 22nd, 1986, at just 20 years old. Again, I always think back, like, what was I doing at 20? Nothing of any value.
Not whipping ass like Mike, you weren't.
Meanwhile, at 20, without the benefit of the college education that I was going through, that didn't help me with anything, he became the youngest heavyweight champion in history with a second round knockout of Trevor Berbick. And he reigned as the undisputed a world heavyweight champion from 1987 all the way through 1990, winning his first 19 professional fights by knockout.
Wow.
12 of them
Yep.
in the first round.
Yep.
That,
Yeah.
look, when I was a kid growing up, my dad watched boxing, so I watched boxing and I was into it. And I'm talking about pre-Tyson, starting in the 70s and so on. And then, with the advent of HBO and they'd have these title fights, some big matchup or, we'd watch those together too as well. But when Mike Tyson started boxing, it seemed like, just like we talk about country music, everybody in my circle at least was suddenly a boxing fan. Certainly the guys that I knew. And now suddenly they were not only interested in watching Mike Tyson, but people were working out. People wanted to box one another. We had sort of a fight club of sorts in my basement for a short time.
Oh my gosh.
You're not allowed to talk about that, Will.
Oh, no.
Didn't you get the rules?
No,
Don't talk
the
about
fourth rule is after 20 years, you could talk about it.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
They didn't
Okay.
get to that. But anyway, and so he was a phenom, and beyond just the titles, John would know, right? Obviously, the port of Punch-Out or Super Punch-Out became Mike Tyson's Punch-Out when it came to Nintendo, and I think it was 87 or something like that.
87, 88, right at the beginning. Yep.
Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff put out a song, I Think I Can Beat Mike Tyson in 1989. And I remember among my friends, we would have this conversation because, whoever he would fight against, it was usually these pay-per-views that Don King would put together.
Mm-hmm.
That whoever he was fighting would get millions of dollars just to enter the ring. And so a question, I don't know if this reached you guys where you grew up, but a question among my peers was, would you take X million dollars just to let him punch you? Because that's basically what's going to happen.
That's what.
Right.
Yes.
And he's not going to punch you very many times was the good news.
Yeah, right. But that one time could change your life.
I remember watching those. You're right. Sometimes with pay-per-view, HBO had it for a while. And there was like this bell curve of people. It was like, first he was fighting to like earn his stripes, and then he was fighting all the big boys. And then it felt like a few competitors on the backside of the bell curve were just there to cash the check. They were like, are you really qualified? And you'd go in and fight, and you better enjoy the undercard because it might last 45 seconds. And it was a thrilling 45 seconds, but he came out of that corner like a machine and was just tight and low and just crush people. It was fun to watch. I was never a boxing fan before or really after, but during that window, I wanted to see every fight he had.
I wasn't a boxing fan. I don't even know that I watched any boxing whatsoever. Wrestling, yes. But you couldn't help but know about it. You could not help but hear about Mike Tyson. And I think my dad saw him fight in Atlantic City. And he came home with some trophy. It looked like a
Your
little
father
barbell
bought him
breast.
and won? Was it a belt? Was it like a belt? Like a big...
He came with a little belt, a big trophy full of money. It was a little fight he had out in Atlantic City.
Suddenly we went out for dinner a lot after that.
A lot, yeah.
Was your father Buster Douglas?
I'll flip a truck every day. I can afford it.
Yeah, suddenly we could afford it.
Were both of your father's ears intact?
No.
That means he won. Now, to be fair, Tyson is not without his controversy. Of course, in 1992, he was convicted of sexual assault and was sentenced to 6 years in prison, although he was released on parole after just 3. But now, at age 57, he hasn't fought in decades, and he's better known for playing comic versions of himself, like in the Hangover films. Tyson has raised concerns that he's making a big mistake by returning to boxing. Now, if you don't know, he is set to fight a YouTube sensation. I say this brings me no joy to say that Jake Paul is a YouTube sensation, but he's set to fight him on July 20th. And just recently, it's no longer, it was deemed no longer an exhibition, which is what it was when they first went into it. It has since been commissioned by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations as a professional fight.
Huh. Wow.
I think, well, what does that matter? Well, the stakes literally have been increased as a result. Tyson's opponent, this Jake Paul, is only 27 years old, so 30 years his junior, is 9-1 in a career with 6 knockouts against a mix of celebrities and middling fighters, sort of what John was suggesting about Tyson's sort of some parts of his career, which were criticized, that Don King was just putting up against people for the payday. They knew they could get a big payday from pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody was happy to take a punch for millions of dollars.
me.
His only loss. Punch me. I mean, look, if you're not trained, you could die. You could die. Right? I mean, one punch, you could die.
But if I don't die, I'll be a millionaire.
Yeah, I guess that's the chance we're taking, right?
Risk management.
Goodbye. I could buy a lot of bandages for $1 million.
You can ever buy one of those speak and says or speak and spells.
Speak and spell.
Yeah. Jake Paul's only loss was a split decision to Tommy Fury, who's the brother of the current heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. Despite Paul's lack of top opponents and Tyson's 56 record with 44 knockouts, there's still a concern among the boxer's peers that he may get his ass handed to him, or just maybe get hurt. Former champ Deontay Wilder told this to Sportsbook Review. He said, "I think it's bad the commission has licensed Mike Tyson since he hasn't been active in 20 years. They shouldn't just license him because of who he is. That's how people get hurt. God forbid he gets hurt." So yeah, what he's suggesting is he's being permitted to fight in this now, sanctioned fight because, with the blessing of the commission that's granted him a license, which they didn't have to. And probably if he was someone who hadn't fought in 19 years and wasn't Mike Tyson, he'd have to otherwise prove themselves to get in the ring.
Right.
But no. So yeah, in that sense, I could see his concerns. But if you watch on social media, Tyson's been posting his workout videos, and he still has power and skills. In fact, I've seen a bunch of boxers comment that power is the last thing to go when you're a fighter, even as you age. But as Wilder points out, he also needs stamina, and that's what he's worried about. That he may just lose energy during the fight and be, outpaced by this younger competitor and look like a, quote, clown.
I could relate to that. Yeah, I can see getting worn out after a couple laps around the ring.
Yeah.
Whew, I need a breather.
But I guess Jake Paul, if he's smart, and nothing he does suggests to me that he's smart, that he would rope-a-dope him like Muhammad Ali would do, and let Tyson wear himself out, and then take advantage of him in his weakened state, because he could probably run circles around him, literally.
Just do the Three Stooges fight, because kind of go whoop, 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 just run in circles and make noises whoop, whoop, until he passes out from exhaustion.
Yeah, and Jake Paul's a good few inches, if not several inches taller, certainly heavier, bigger than Tyson generally. He could probably just put his hand on his head and let Tyson swing away for a few minutes, and then Hadouken.
But what I say, Tyson comes in low and tight. He wants to be shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
he always got squat down even on fighters that were the same height. I think that's going to be to his benefit.
Yeah. I'm not as worried as Tyson's peers here.
No, me neither.
I have no
me neither.
Special knowledge, certainly, but except for the fact that having been a witness, I guess, to many of his fights, and certainly to this day, be able to see his continued passion. With regard to the fight now having been licensed, however, Paul says that although he respects the champ, quote, as soon as it turned into a pro fight, one of us has to die, end quote.
What?
So
smack talk.
Now, yes, let's make smack talk for Jake Paul. Now, this reminds me of an interview I once saw with Mike Tyson, and I couldn't find it, but it's from a couple of decades ago. I think he was being interviewed by a female journalist, and she asked him what he was thinking when he entered the ring. He said, "I was thinking about killing my opponent." And then the interviewer asked a follow-up question saying, "Well, how did you feel after you won?" He said, "I felt sad because I didn't get to follow through."
Okay.
Now, I believe that. In Tyson's history, he's told stories about before that boxing saved him from being in prison because he would walk around wanting to kill somebody. In fact, at some point, again, this is going years back, there was a boxer who did kill his opponent in the ring, and Tyson said he regretted that it wasn't him that had done that.
Okay, this makes me even more, I want to say perplexed. While I was reading about this, I felt like, these people are worried about Mike Tyson. Yep. And I have not followed his career closely, but I've never gotten the impression that there were so many people that were fond of him or so worried about him. And he's choosing to do this. No one's forcing him to be in this situation. So I feel like, okay, whatever happens. I'm not worried about him, and I'm also not worried about him because he's not someone that I feel warm and fuzzy about. I think is what I'm trying to get at here.
I think, Kat, in the years following his conviction, he served his time. Mm-hmm. After that, he started like this self-deprecation tour where he started to not be so closed off and make a bit of light fun of himself. He was Will said, in the Hangover film or films. I think it was multiple of them. And it's almost like he took a page out of the William Shatner book of like, for the first part of his career, he was, I don't want to talk to people and fans, shut up about Star Trek, it's stupid. And be like, oh, that didn't work well for you, did it? Oh, let me actually, okay, I take it back. Let's be friendly kind of thing. So Mike Tyson has kind of endeared himself a bit after the fact. In his later years, I think he's mellowed probably.
Okay.
And he's also become more self-aware, whereas he probably wasn't. He was pretty much in his bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with Brandon. He says, I hope Jake Paul gets that ass kicked. Then my 10-year-old son just said he hopes Tyson wins. Goes to show you how Tyson transcends generations. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Miss So says, pretty sure Paul is no threat to Tyson. I'm no fan. I just want to see a Gen Xer in the ring knock out Paul.
Nice.
Jake Paul's going to get a little how do you do, I think. He's going to first punches go, so this is boxing.
How do you do?
You remind me of another line from Tyson. Tyson said something like, everybody's tough until they get punched in the mouth.
Until they get punched in the mouth. Yep. I love that. I've used that
plan.
before.
Oh, everyone has a plan.
Everyone has a plan.
So,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. Yeah. And Kathy's predicting Tyson in 3. I hope it doesn't go that long. Yeah.
1. I give him 1.
You know what's really disappointing to me is Jake Paul used to be on this. He started out on this kids show that my daughter watched, and I would watch with her. And he was like this lovable goof who would do stupid stunts. And it was about all these kids who belonged to this like collective of, they were all trying to make it as YouTubers, kind of, right? So that was his thing as this actor on a show. He wound up doing that in real life. Except he does it in a way that's not kid friendly. That's his first stunts where, and his brothers are equally an asshole too, by all accounts. Anyway, it's unfortunate that this actor that my daughter admired, grew up to be someone that she can't continue to look up to.
Right.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, another 1980s news per Entertainment Weekly. Whoopi Goldberg warns that your home's ghost will absolutely get you if, quote, they don't want you in the house, end quote. And this reminds me of we were talking about ghosts before, and I love talking about ghosts with you guys.
Like making fun of us, really, is what you're about.
Wait, why? Because you guys believe in ghosts, and I don't? Or?
Well, I want to.
You want
I'm open
yes.
to it, and you're like, yeah, but come on, is what you say.
Right. It would be cool. I agree. It would be cool, but I maybe I didn't say this on air the other day. I think I know I told Kat this, right? That one of my LED lights, this ring light I have, John.
Yes.
My oldest had been visiting from college a few weeks ago. And I'm trying to think, they were here for like a week. And there was a couple of times I came down in the basement. Now, she doesn't go in my podcast room, but there were a couple of times I came in the basement. I saw the door closed, but the light was on. So I opened the door. Oh, it's my LED light. Turn it off. Go back. A few days later, again. I don't think to say anything to her. I don't remember until she's gone. She goes back to school. And then the following week, it happens again. So finally, after doing this every couple of few days, my light turning off, I ask the people who do live here with me, my wife and my other child, hey, any of you guys going in there? I don't care. I just want to know if you're using that ring light. No, we wouldn't go in there. We don't. That's your space. We don't do that. So then I sat here. I told Kat this. I sat here. I looked over at the ring light and it was off. I had turned it off because I came in to do the show like last week or so. I turned it off. All right, look, if you're here, just turn it on while I'm here. Okay? You don't have to be secretive about it. And then, and I'm feeling like all brave about that. And then at the same time, my mind is saying, what are you going to do if that light goes on?
What if?
Are you going to be cool and be like, all right, cool. We're cool. Or are you going to run out of the house and move and burn it down as you leave?
Or starts blinking Morse code, a name.
Now, since then, the light died. It won't even come on anymore. I can't turn it on. It won't turn on itself. So I threw it in the garbage. Well, I still have it here. I actually still have it.
Actually, give it some time. Give it some time. Because that's exactly what happened to my LED lights. When I leave them plugged in, they turn on by themselves. And then I realized, and then they wouldn't work at all anymore. Yeah. You sent me new ones. And the same thing happened. And then the old ones started working again. I forget why I tested them out. I think I wanted to be sure because I hate throwing things away. And like, unless I'm very, very sure it's trash. So I tested it and it worked again. So I don't leave it plugged in. When we're done recording, I unplug the LED lights.
Well, I just
so they don't ghostly turn on.
I just ordered a new one that supposedly they said it's spirit free. They do some kind of incantation at the factory.
Boring.
I know, right? Come on.
Keep the haunted one.
Oh, I still have it here.
Is there a tick box on Amazon for
yes,
haunted or not haunted? Is it
it's
drop
either
down?
afraid of no ghosts or ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Not. I got. I see.
Anyway, Whoopi Goldberg, who previously apparently John, this is the perfect person for you here. Whoopi Goldberg previously confirmed apparently that aliens are among us, but it turns out she also is an expert in the spirit realm, much like her character from a 1990s Ghost. In fact, she won an Oscar for that character, who was a paranormal expert. In that movie, she warns Demi Moore's character that girl, you in danger. Anyway, paraphrasing.
Remember.
Well, last week she warned the audience of The View, that show that she co-hosts, about the dangers of living in a haunted house. The 60-year-old EGOT icon introduced a grim topic on the recent episode of the ABC talk show involving a man who bought a house that had been discounted $100,000 because it was the site of a murder-suicide, but whose wife eventually left him because he didn't disclose that information to her before they wed and she moved in. This reminds me. We talked about ghosts a long while ago, and it's one of my favorite conversations. So many funny things. John said almost this exact thing that Whoopi Goldberg says. Most places most of us have lived have had people die in them, end quote. So
do the math.
Yeah. They got to die somewhere.
Everybody dies, and you got to do it somewhere. And there's only so much space on the planet.
Yeah.
Unless you go off in the rainforest where people have not walked ever, if you're in a populated area, someone's probably died there. Have you ever driven down the highway and seen those sad little crosses? You're like, wow, there's an accident right here.
Yes.
And so places you wouldn't even think of, you're like, well, this is not even an intersection. How did that happen? People are dying everywhere. And it's, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
More ghosts.
Well, her co-host Sarah Haynes then proposed the idea of hosting a podcast with Goldberg inside the murder house, asking her to reprise her Academy Award-winning role. Goldberg responded by trying to just quiet their anxieties about living in a haunted house by reassuring them that if there was a spirit in the home, it would likely have been tormenting them already. Saying, quote, 5 years went by, the husband had no issue. He forgot to say to her, darling, I asked you to marry me, but you'll be living in a murder house with me. Nothing in the 5 years bugged her. If stuff was going to come up and get her, she'd have been gotten by now. Ghosts don't tend to wait.
As Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get a ghost in the house.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Kathy says, I wonder if Patrick Swayze haunts Whoopi.
Oh, yes.
Are they making sexy pottery together?
Oh, Patrick Swayze and Whoopi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, Kat?
Patrick Swayze and Whoopi making sexy pottery together?
Yes.
I thought Demi Moore and
Yes, but are you forgetting how they're able to do that?
Oh.
He possesses.
I haven't seen it in a while.
This is her.
He possesses Whoopi Goldberg's body.
You're seeing
I forgot.
cool hot Patrick Swayze, but really,
they never show it. Oh, I wish they'd show that. Every now and then they just cut to what's really happening.
Yeah.
Jeez, I forgot.
Oh, Demi. Oh, Demi.
Or she gets a glimpse of the real. Oh,
I mean, oh, Demi. Oh.
Yeah. Karen says, my parents lost a child before I was born. Wow, sorry to hear that. That sounds terrible. And sometimes when things in my closet fall over or whatever, I just say hi to my big brother. Oh, that's nice.
Wow.
That's a good way to think about it. Yeah.
I like that, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Is the microphone haunted or do I hear a bird chirping?
Oh,
Yeah, who's
you
got a
hear
bird?
Oh, okay. Like perhaps a bird died near you, Kat, because I can hear it.
Did Mike Tyson punch her and the bird's going around her head?
Everybody got a plan till you get a bird in the house.
She's got cats. She's got birds.
I'm right near a window that is not open.
Pipes.
We have loud birds around my house.
She's like,
Very
the
loud.
bird chased the mouse and the cat chased the bird.
Okay, you know why they call it birdshot, right?
No.
I don't. Why?
For shooting birds.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not shooting
I
the
thought you meant
birds.
there's something even. Okay.
You want me to shoot birds so that you can't hear them during recording?
You need a shotgun.
All right, let's redeem Cat here
couple
by talking
shots
about
and-
this next story here.
Oh,
Because
no.
per Variety, a Roadhouse sequel is in the works.
Yes.
Yeah.
The sequel to Amazon's Roadhouse movie is in the works with Jake Gyllenhaal reprising his lead role as Dalton.
Let's go.
While Amazon is keeping
Let's go.
quiet
I'm ready.
on any other details for now, they made sure to give us the news of the high-profile project. On May 14th, at Amazon's first ever upfront presentation to advertisers, Amazon MGM studio chief Jennifer Salk, said, quote, "This spring, the world went crazy for a little movie called Roadhouse." Look, just as an aside, I hate when people do that. For something called, just say the thing. For Roadhouse. You just added 4 extra words for a little movie called 5 words. Anyway, now, this gets confusing here. I don't know if you guys saw this in the article. There's got to be something wrong here. And I checked a bunch of sources, and this is how it's written everywhere. Nearly 8 million viewers globally have watched Roadhouse. We like to watch these results like a baby. A couple things. One, I think she meant to say 80, or it's just whoever documented it is wrong.
Yeah.
For
I saw
18.
80
Yeah, I think it's
somewhere
80.
in there. Yeah.
But more importantly, what does it mean? We like to watch these results like a baby. Is that an expression I don't know?
Not take your eyes off of the the numbers?
I don't know. Anyway,
It's not one I've heard. I have no idea.
No.
per Amazon MGM Studios, the reboot of the 1987 film of the same name.
Maybe you have to periodically change it because it's full of shit.
Well, yeah, as the chief executive of Amazon MGM, yeah, that's probably true.
Maybe, yeah.
CDI Arcade is wondering if the article was written by AI.
Oh, yeah,
There you go.
That's you know what? You're probably right.
Skynet.
Anyway, per the studio, the reboot of the 1987 film of the same name attracted a record-breaking over 50 million worldwide viewers. So there you go. That makes more sense. During the first 2 weekends following its release, becoming Amazon MGM Studios' most watched produced film debut ever on a worldwide basis. And since then, they're counting about 80 million viewers. So there you go. It should be noted, though, that now this gets to the baby diaper part. Right? Because this is caveat, asterisk, that streaming viewership numbers are self-reported by these platforms. And so Amazon did not reveal what it considers a view or how much of the movie a customer has to watch before it's counted as part of the audience. Now, John knows this on YouTube, Facebook, podcast
Retention.
downloads. You have to you have to do a certain amount before it's counted. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
I know for podcasts, it's a pretty low threshold. I think it's like 30 seconds or a minute, honestly. So, thank God for that.
So this could be the most started to watch movie ever worldwide.
Yes. It's funny because they know what the retention rate is and when people are dropping off and stuff like that. But they're not saying, of course not. Anyway, and here's the other, sleight of hand they did. Is if you notice, and they say they got 50 million worldwide viewers during their first 2 weekends. Now, first of all, as you guys know, whenever we're talking about films that are released in a traditional way in theaters, physical theaters, they talk about the first weekend, right? And then also, generally speaking, although we have some films that come out on a Wednesday midnight or a Thursday midnight, we in the normal world characterize weekends as those days Friday through Sunday. No, not Amazon. Their weekends are all 10 days from when it opened until the end of the second weekend. So there you go. So their 2 weekends were a lot longer.
Quite a nice window. Still get 80,000 streaming views.
Million.
But that number itself, as you said, could be at question. I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of the best direct to streaming movies, probably in the top 5 direct streaming movies I've seen. And I was very pleased with it. So look, there may be some hyperbole, but I think it warrants a sequel.
And I'm wondering, was the sequel planned already before those big numbers, or was it, we better do another? And are they going to do it direct to streaming again?
Ooh, that's a good question, because this should have been in the theater.
Right. We talked about this, how this could have been a moneymaker in the theater. I wonder if they're going to do that.
I agree. It's you would hope they learned a lesson, except for, I will offer this, and I wanted to offer this anyway, sort of a counter view or counter example, is the new Fall Guy film. And no spoilers here, just talking about box office numbers. It's only been out for, I think, 2 weekends now. The first weekend, it failed to meet expectations, but the expectations were $30 million for an opening weekend, and it hit around $28 million. So it's not a complete failure, but even $30 million for a summer film, with these folks that are involved, the creatives involved, it's kind of a low bar already. And then in the second week, it dropped off 50%, which again, surprisingly to me, there seems to be a mixed view about it. Some people are saying, well, it's not 60%, so that's good. 50% drop off sounds pretty significant, and other people, though, are, sounding the death knell once again for theaters, for traditional theaters. Yeah. So I don't know. I would guess they would say, hey, yeah, maybe we could make a lot more money and get more subscribers if we first put it in a theater for a couple of weekends. But maybe films like that are a signal, like Fall Guy, which, by the way, I think Fall Guy is even better than the Roadhouse film. And once you guys see it, I think you may agree with me. So I'm shocked it's not doing well, but then again, maybe it's just one of those things that are signaling a trend in how, folks consume their media, which we've talked about many times. Is now someone hosting a show? Is there a talent show going on in your house now, Kat? And does that talent show feature animals? Turn the camera around. We need to see this.
It's called The Aristocrats. If I hear a dog bark, I'm calling for an intervention.
There's a couple of beagles that walk in the neighborhood. You just might.
I'm like,
ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages.
Kat is subletting her house to a one-ring circus. Yeah, now I hear horns. All right, anyway, okay, so let's see. What else we got here? Let's see what folks are saying so far. Karen says, I still haven't seen the new Roadhouse. I'm still playing catch-up. Karen, if you're a fan of sort of 80s era type action, silly action movies, it's pretty good. Pretty dang good.
Yeah. You definitely see it.
Kat, I'll let you answer this. CDI Arcade, I think that's what that says, what would the sequel to Roadhouse be? Texas Roadhouse? That's a steak place, isn't it?
I love that.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. There's a missed opportunity if they don't do some kind of crossover.
Yes, in the restaurant. Let's just.
This time, it's
everyone's
medium well.
Coming now. They loved the first one. We could do anything.
Well, Kat, I thought wisely, had predicted that the way this film is, all the issues I had with it were maybe cleverly, crafted to create a longer or larger arc for the character of Dalton in particular. And I think you're probably right now in hindsight.
We'll
right?
see.
All right, Brandon says, I was surprised to see how good the Roadhouse remake was. I never thought about a second one coming out, but I would actually like to see that. Yeah, again, I think Kat was right. The first one could have been just showing how he starts developing these skills as this bouncer. And the second one, he's a little more established in the way that Patrick Swayze was. And John's shaking his head no.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm not shaking my head no. It's a shake of disbelief because the first thing I wanted to know was, oh no. One of the things I really liked about the film was Conor McGregor. I'm like, but he died.
Oh, I see.
And the last time we talked about the film, you guys asked me, well, you saw the after credits scene, right?
Yeah.
And I smiled and nodded and said yes, because in my mind, the after credits scene was the bookshop people getting money.
Oh.
I had not seen the actual after credits scene.
Yeah.
So after reading this article, then I went, oh my God. I had no idea. I left that film without seeing that. I thought he was dead.
I forgot that you thought that. You didn't.
Yeah, we didn't want to. We told him to just go watch it. Yeah.
Oh my! Did you have you since watched it?
I did. I didn't until I read this article because I'm like, no, I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it. Yeah, I have seen it. No, I had not seen the.
Now you've seen it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Somehow Deus Ex Machina that, I don't want to go any further because some people haven't seen it. Yeah. They should see it, but I had no idea that I missed that. I had no idea. That's not the kind of thing you put in a post-credit scene. The post-credit scene, you do this was coming in the next movie. Not like something that changes the end of the movie. I was not expecting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. It'd be like The Sixth Sense post-credit. He was dead the whole time. Well, I didn't stay for the whole movie.
You didn't stay for that? That's exactly how I would have felt.
It was like a so-so kind of thriller. Did you stay for the post-credits? I guess this is related to the Texas Roadhouse. Karen's asking, did we hear about Red Lobster? No.
Oh,
yes.
I heard about that.
They're closing a bunch of stores and trying to go bankrupt. Yeah. It's not related to the Roadhouse, just the Texas Roadhouse.
I thought that was the third film. It's a Red Lobster.
I heard that the all-you-can-eat shrimp did them in.
Anyway, looking.
Jerry Seinfeld's next film is about the Red Lobster.
Oh, God. Anyway, looking at how they calculate these numbers. Don't let Jennifer Salke babysit your child. Keeps an eye on it like a baby.
Yep.
Oh.
She's fudging everything. Your baby's fine. Your baby's fine.
Fudge.
I don't believe you.
Right. I started to watch your baby, but not all the way to the end credits.
Hey, also in 1980s news, as reported by comicbook.com, Netflix's Terminator anime reveals new images. Now, I had forgotten all about this, but it's easy to maybe.
I'm not sure I ever knew.
Okay. All right, maybe. We know John loves Terminator, all things Terminator. Until what is it? Everybody loves Terminator until you get a time traveled in the mouth or something. I don't know. It has been 5 years. This is why you probably forgot all about us, because it's been 5 years since we've seen a live action Terminator anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that film, Terminator Dark Fate, actually brought the series originals, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton, back to the silver screen in an interesting way. And that film was okay. It was fine, I think.
Yeah. Carl's Draperies was his current gig.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I mean, yeah. And while a new film does not seem to be in the works, Skynet will continue its war on humanity in Netflix's anime addition to the franchise with Terminator Zero. And we now have some images from the series that's being created by Production IG. I'll show them to you guys here. I can't tell anything that's going on here.
Nope. There's a dude and, and someone who's talking to Whoopi Goldberg in the back.
Yeah. Girl, you in danger. The thing that I think I've said this to you guys before. I'm not a huge anime fan, and
that's my problem.
I would be a poser to say that I was, even by liking the anglicized anime we had in the 70s and 80s, like Battle of the Planets, which is Gatchaman. That got so watered down by the time it reached America. They edited so much of it out. They had to make new scenes with this R2-D2 type character and C-3PO type characters or whatever, to make the show long enough, because they cut out all the stuff that would have tripped out kids and their parents in America. But we've had cartoons that are in anime style but still sort of Western sensibilities. This looks like it's anime in the truest sense. If you've got ghosts in a time travel show, Karen says cool looking art. Yeah, I agree. But I mean, what is this with regard to Terminator? Here's some other pictures. Now this.
Oh,
looks like this guy's face is.
He's got some issues.
Yep.
Half of it almost looks like Two-Face, the Batman character, but you can't see it's obscured by so much fog.
Or like cyborgy. Like I feel like there's a little metal.
It's a T800. Yeah, it's got to be a T800.
Is that what you guys get out of that? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing, because I'm seeing the red of the eye. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this is. Some kind of spirit. You can see there's a giant sort of figure behind this. It's like a portal, but there's actually a figure behind it. Where the portal is
see
kind of
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my guess of this big red demonic thing is like it's like the visual embodiment of Skynet, because Skynet is a character they have to deal with. So I'm thinking that's probably what this is going to be.
And maybe that is a time travel portal, and that's how Skynet is presenting here. This is how I want you to go back and do this thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And one final image here, which I could relate to the most, I guess, is just a woman shooting a gun. Looks like a handgun of some kind.
Yep.
9mm or something. I don't know.
She's on the planet Endor, it would seem, from her attire.
Oh, yes.
Maybe that's why it seems so familiar.
She's firing RoboCop's gun.
Yeah.
Thank you for the cooperation.
Thank you for your cooperation.
I don't know. Brendan says, I've tried to get an anime, but I just can't do it. I know, right? I want to.
Yeah.
I've got friends that are into it. My kids were into it at different points.
Yep. One of my kids is really into it.
The two things that push me away from anime is the ridiculously low frame rate and the hyper exaggerated actions.
Right.
And I know that's the hallmark of the genre. I get that.
Yeah.
But those are the things that push me away because I'm like, it's super choppy and it's like super like, oh my goodness, everything is exaggerated. It's too much.
It's like when Will's internet is bad.
Yes.
It is low frame rate.
Low frame rate, yeah.
But a Terminator anime, it'll get me to try. I mean, you'll have to chase me away from a Terminator cartoon. You know, you'll have to find a way to make me not like it.
Yeah. The thing that always bugged me about the anime I've tried, and I've interviewed anime voice actors, so in an effort to be able knowledgeable, like that one couple of summers ago when I did that convention, I watched a lot of anime. And the thing that's always kept me from connecting to it is it feels foreign. Like the things that are tropes of anime are, and beyond, like John's talking about stylistic things. I'm talking about storytelling aspects where the types of monsters and ghosts and creatures like almost like Lovecraftian creatures and stuff that live in these worlds.
Yeah.
I just can't connect to it. I don't know. And it's off-putting a little bit, and it's intended to be, but it's off-putting in a way where I feel like it's not for me, I suppose.
I agree.
And some of it's just plain disturbing. Like I watched this, I'm trying to think what this one show is called. I think it's on Netflix. I want to say it's called Mother or something like that, where it's about a school of kids that have this, mother that's, sort of the house mother that takes care of them. And then eventually one kid is chosen to go and they're going to get it's like an orphanage. You have a family for you. And they start uncovering slowly, but this is a big spoiler, but by the end, maybe I shouldn't say it, but by the end, it's not the actual world. It's not the real world. The kid's not going off to a family. She's going to be eaten by the aliens that actually have them in this kind of zoo of sorts. I mean, it's so fucked up.
Oh, like a sacrificial?
Yeah, it's really messed up. Anyway.
You've won the lottery.
Yeah, so John says, I love Cowboy Bebop, but didn't get into it that much or get too much else. I watched enough of Cowboy Bebop, the anime, to know that when Netflix did the live action, I'd watch that, and that was really good. And then I enjoyed that. But turns out I didn't like anime. I just liked Cowboy Bebop. The music is great. He points out the soundtrack is good. Yeah, the music is great.
Oh,
now, look,
cool.
if you're wondering what this show's going to be about, I have the official synopsis for you. And boy, I've got to tell you something. This is the most original Terminator story that I've heard. I think, you think they've run out of stories to tell on Terminator. Well, here you go. Caught between the future.
John.
Caught between the future and this past. The future and the past as a soldier sent back in time to change the fate of humanity. She arrives in 1997 to protect a scientist named Malcolm Lee, who works to launch a new AI system designed to compete with Skynet's impending attack on humanity. As Malcolm navigates the moral complexities of his creation, he's hunted by an unrelenting assassin from the future. Oh, wait, that's the story of every Terminator. I just realized. Oh, shit, yeah.
I was going to say, did you read something different?
No, I didn't. Okay. I read that. It's the same thing. I was like, oh really? Come on. I mean, I get it. If the Terminator technology existed, that's exactly what would happen. We beat them in Terminator 1. They send back another Terminator. We send back another soldier. We beat them again. It would just go on forever like that.
Yes.
And I don't know, John, maybe you know, because you're into the films, you love that whole the lore of it. Mm-hmm. Is there anything accounting for the fact they don't just keep sending a robot Terminator back to 1984 over and over again? Like, why is it move forward in time as we move forward? The audience moves forward in time.
Shh! Don't pull at that thread,
because that's how the screenwriter wrote it. Yeah.
Yeah. You would think if they had the wherewithal and the ability and the energy, like perhaps the cost of sending someone back in time consumes so much energy. I don't know. I don't remember them addressing it directly, but I'm also not a super lore hound. I couldn't tell you every little minute detail, but
yeah.
If you had control of the time machine, just keep trying. you had a great plan, and then you got punched in the mouth. Well, now go back in time again and try it again with a new plan. Maybe you won't get punched in the mouth. Yeah, because you can just keep trying.
Yeah,
There's a paradox. You have 50 people you sent back in time all hanging out at the Denny's. It's like, let's all gang up.
Yeah, I'm just, yes. There's so many ways to be smarter of it. Now it reminds me, it's like that Tom Cruise movie we talked about. It would almost have been like that, where the aliens just keep going back to the same time and starting, learning from their mistakes.
Right.
Miss So says the best anime of all time is the sci-fi, horror, and cyberpunk stuff from the 70s and 80s. And is it the real anime, Miss So? Is it we're talking about straight out of Japan's got some subtitles, or it's overdubbed in English kind of thing, or is it anglicized stuff that I'm talking about? Because I liked Voltron and I liked stuff of that ilk, but I don't honestly know if it was edited in a way that Gatchaman was edited, like I mentioned. I don't know. Brandon says, I think the elements of anime were ruined for me in a reverse way. When I was a teen, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers dropped and was ridiculous. Yeah. I think we were a little too old for that at the time.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
And this is the thing, John, you most want to know. The 8-episode animated series, again, which revolves new characters in an old story, I think. It premieres globally on August 29th.
Okay.
August 29th. Put it on the calendar.
So I was all ready for a great story. Oh, it's already on the calendar. It's already on the calendar.
All right.
It's already in the system. Waiting for it to appear.
There you go.
Show up.
It's already in Plex. Hey, and finally, per Entertainment Weekly, the future of the Mad Max franchise has been teased by creator George Miller. Now, if you guys didn't know, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is set to drop. It's the 5th installment in the series. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth. It's coming out on May 24th, so any day now. And while it's already being compared unfavorably to its predecessor, Fury Road, director George Miller is hinting at the franchise's future. And I'm excited about that. Are you guys fans of the Mad Max films at all?
I'm not any sort of huge fan. I saw a Mad Max back in the 80s, but it's not something that I've kept up with.
I watched them like I've watched Rocky. Like they were summer tentpole films every time they came out.
Yeah.
And I went and saw them, but I don't go back to rewatch them time and time again. It's just like, I remember the story of that part. And yeah, gas is a commodity and they all chase each other down in cars and, Mel Gibson stuff. But probably Thunderdome is the one I remember the most, probably because it's the most recent of that original collection of films. But yeah, I would call myself a fan. I enjoy them enough.
I feel sorry for you if Thunderdome is the one that's in your mind the most.
Wait, when did Thunderdome come out?
I'm going to guess. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Okay.
Don't tell me.
You can do it based on Tina Turner and the Billboard charts?
No, I'm going to say 80s.
Definitely the 80s. You're on the right track. Good job,
80. I'm torn between 85 or 86.
All right, you just got to pick one now.
85.
That's right.
That's probably the one that I saw too.
Okay. Well, the franchise actually began just outside the 1980s with 1979's Mad Max, the first one, which starred Mel Gibson as the titular hero, and was followed by the sequels The Road Warrior and Thunderdome, which we just mentioned. That those came out in 81 and 85, respectively. 30 years passed before we saw another, which was led by Tom Hardy as Max in Fury Road. And believe it or not, it's already been 9 years since that film came out.
Wow.
Yeah. But here we go. We've got another high-octane adventure coming up in just any day now, depending on when you're listening to this, and maybe another in the near future thanks to George Miller. Because it turns out, and unfortunately, this was spoiled for me, so I'm not going to say that's why I'm going to joke and say that's why I'm spoiling it for everyone else, but it's important to the story. I'm not a dick. I'm not being a dick. It just, we don't, I think this is true, right? No one says spoiler alert anymore. You don't read articles. They don't say spoiler alert anymore, any of them. It's basically once something's out, or I shouldn't even say that. Once the, John, what do they call it when they tell you the press you can't say something yet? Not a boycott.
The embargo.
Embargo.
Yeah.
Once the embargo is lifted, whoever saw it, whatever it is, they tell you everything. They don't care. You should have seen it when the press saw it too, which is like such a bunch of, that's what it is. I'm like, I wonder if this is going to be any good. What the hell?
You're watching the wrong people, Will.
Okay.
The critics that I watch, they do, hey, everything is spoiler free, and they'll do a separate piece if it's going to talk about plot points. So just let those talk with your feet and go, well, if you're spoiling for me, don't look at those critics anymore. There are people that still do that. Respect it.
Yeah. I try to just avoid the reviews if I really want to see something.
Yeah. That's the safest bet.
Yeah. But I was curious about the future of Mad Max because I'm a big fan of those films. I don't love them all equally. Road Warrior is definitely the best one of the first three. That's the second one that came out. I think it's rewatchable. It's just, you can start it all over again from the beginning after you just watched it.
It's like 83?
81.
81. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. That wipes
I got one
from earlier.
I got one.
So now it's minus 1 point. You're at 0 again. So it's a tie.
I was surprised that this started in 79. I had no idea. I thought it was, into the 80s before this came around.
Yeah,
well, I said I saw them all in the theater. In reality, I'm sure that I saw Mad Max on VHS. I'm certain that's how I saw that.
Okay.
Because I would have been 10 years old. I would have been going to see Mad Max in the theater.
Yeah. And the Australian film, certainly the originals were George Miller's an Australian fella, and the production crew, the actors, it's where it was filmed. And it was a while before Americans even knew there was a first one, because Road Warrior was the first that was, released, I think, globally, or certainly in the way that allowed us to become most familiar with Max at that time. I know I saw that one first and then went back and watched the first one. I was like, oh, this isn't as good as Road Warrior. Road Warrior is awesome. It's not the dystopian world that we know going forward from the second film.
Interesting.
I say all that because this is the spoiler that I learned from reading this article about the future, because apparently in a blink and you'll miss it moment, there's a glimpse of Max and his beloved car, the Interceptor, in the latest film. The one that I'm talking about, it's coming out right now, Furiosa.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler. Hands up everyone who was surprised by that. You're gonna do a prequel to a Mad Max movie placed about 20 years before the last one, and you're not going to see Max? Come on.
What's called Furiosa. It's called Furiosa, subtitle, a Mad Max saga. I don't think there's anything to imply. And we know they're going to meet up in Fury Road.
But no, the last one was called Mad Max, and it was full of Furiosa. So why would there not be any Max in the one called Furiosa? I mean, they're all these are the heroes of their film. It's like, the movie's called, Revenge of the Sith, but there are some Jedi in it. Those are the characters you have in your world. They're going to be there too, just because their name is on the movie.
I get that. But because it's a story about her coming, into her own. Mm-hmm. And the first time they seem to have met is in Fury Road. It'd be like, well, it'd seem like they, just sort of crowbarred it in there, which I wouldn't suggest they're above. They didn't even do that. It seems to me like they're going to be driving, and in the background you're going to see the car and Max like putting gas in his gasoline in his car. Or
hey, it's over.
Wait! Son of a bitch.
Who are you? Well, I'll meet you in 20 years.
I don't know.
That's fun.
Anyway, so although it's so unlike it's not pivotal to the plot. Again, it's something that goes by real quick. It's just an Easter egg. But even so, Miller says that it directly relates to where he'd like to take the franchise if he's given the chance. Now, again, early reports about Furiosa say whether he gets another shot at this is up in the air, but we'll see. But with regard to Furiosa, we were just talking about how Furiosa is a prequel to Fury Road. Well, it turns out that when Miller was making Fury Road, he and the writers did a lot of work creating the backstory for both Furiosa and Max. So the backstory for Furiosa became the film that's coming out, and the backstory for Max, because they were saying, well, what would Max be doing around this same time, was the exercise they did. And part of it was to be able to present this to the actors as they took over these characters. He said, that's going to be the next movie. And he said, essentially they wrote a novella in creating these, backstories. And so he just wants to take that Max one, and it would be happening parallel to the Furiosa film that's coming out. And we'd get to see what he was up to during that time. He says, quote, in doing what we did for the preparation for Mad Max Fury Road, we also wrote what happened to Max in the year before we encounter him in that film. Oh, the year before. As we get towards the end of Furiosa, we had to see that Mad Max was lurking around somewhere. You had to. You have to.
Lurking.
Right.
Yeah, he's lurking at Furiosa.
No.
That's how he does it.
Is that how it's done?
Yeah. And I'm not looking over something, by the way. No, he puts his thumbs on either side of his nose and makes this face. I wasn't miming it. Let's see.
Very specific that you would know that.
John,
yes.
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 I keep tabs on all the creepers. That's why I'm not one. I keep tabs on them. John says in the first Mad Max they overdubbed Mel Gibson's voice. Yeah, I think you could see you can hear the undubbed version though too. I think John, right?
Oh, really? Interesting.
So I believe that's the one I'd seen. Steve writes, I liked Road Warrior. Yeah, I think that's the best one. And actually, I'll be doing a pod. Well, maybe I shouldn't promote this in case it falls through.
Nope.
I'm going to be doing I'm going to be on a guest on a podcast in the next couple of weeks to talk about Road Warrior.
Oh,
but you know how these things happen. Sometimes they don't work out. John also says, do an episode of how they shot original Mad Max. Budgets were small. The motorcycles were crew motorcycles, and the safety standards now, well, in Oz, they didn't exist. Yeah. You know, John, you may not know, but I did talk to Vernon Wells, who plays Wes in Road Warrior. I did know that. Not you, John. John in the comments. John in the comments, and we talked about that. I mean, you know, and John's in the comments seems to know a lot. At some point, one stunt actor died. I think it was in the first film, maybe. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy stories, and the fact that more people weren't seriously injured or killed are pretty astounding.
Why did they dub Mel Gibson's voice? I'm a little stuck on that
because of his Australian accent.
It was just too strong, or they just wanted it.
He kept
gone.
saying, "Throw another shrimp on the Barbie," no matter what his line was, and people
and crikey,
it was confused. Yep, crikey, throw another shrimp on the Barbie. Mel, cut. You actually don't even have any lines here, Mel. Now, you know, famously in these films, the Max character has very few lines in these movies. I want to say maybe it's in Fury Road. He has like 15 lines, maybe.
That's it?
It's very few, yeah. In every movie, they don't. Max is a man of very few words.
He talks with his car.
Anyway, when pressed for an update on the project, Miller says, quote, well, we are certainly working on it. And as I say, we wrote that basically as a novella, and now we've got a chance. Now he makes it sound like they're doing it. We will get that into a screenplay form, and we'll take it from there. I don't know, George. I'd wait a little bit to see.
Yeah, talk to the guys that made Fall Guy and then get back to me.
Yeah. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, right. I really hope that thing gets legs, because it's also something that could be a franchise, I think. Because, you know, it's it kind of like the TV series was, and this isn't a spoiler, but he gets involved in having to solve a mystery and or a crime and help out.
Yeah.
Any movie could be that, all right? You know, a movie, there's so many stories you could tell that way when you sort of set up that, framework.
Yeah, that structure.
It becomes like a stuntman Poirot. It's just like moving on to the next movie and the next mystery.
Yes.
Yeah, I love those movies. Yeah.
This time it's a sci-fi movie, and we're solving
Right.
Every movie, there's something to solve around it.
Right.
Miss So says Australian. Mel was born in New York. Come on, Miss So, don't do this to me. You're just trying to make me Google while we're doing the show. Is that it? Mel is Australian. All right, so you're just playing a joke on me? Is that it? Could you just tell me? Because I don't want to spend all the
She's
time.
got a little laughy face there.
He's Australian.
You might be teasing.
Look at this. Wikipedia. Mel Gibson, American actor. Huh. Look at that. Gibson was born in Peekskill, New York, of Irish descent. Why do I think he's Australian?
He moved with his family to Australia at age 12.
There you go.
I just came up with here.
Oh, yeah. His grandmother's Australian.
Who knew?
Maybe they dubbed it because he didn't sound Australian enough.
Oh, you know what? Maybe, John. Yeah. No, you noticed he has an Australian accent.
We want this damn Yanks in our movie.
And Lethal Weapon, you'll hear him. He's like, crikey this and crikey that. And, Anyway, I'll tell you the other thing about these Mad Max films, starting with the Road Warrior. I wanted one of those cars. And I see these movies now. Like I watched Road Warrior and Fury Road just back to back pretty recently. Mm-hmm. I want a car like that. And I remember in one of the Information Society music videos and on an album, they had a car, like a sort of a post-apocalyptic car. I still want one.
You still want one?
Yeah.
You going to trade in your Highlander? Is that what you have?
Because you can only have one car.
Yeah,
exactly. It's a Highlander.
All right. Hey, that was the show.
On that note, we're calling it.
If he's going to do jokes like that, we got to just get out of here.
And our show is brought to you thanks in part to our early adopters, Karen Flieger and Rick Parker.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you especially to our Secret of Our Success level Patreon supporters, Matt Marino, John Henderson, Brandon Greer, Marcus Taylor, Tony Gray, Nick Guillory, and Craig Coletta.
Yay! Hey, thank you so very much, guys. We're so very grateful. If you'd like to join this band of road warriors and support our show every week, please go to patreon.com/1980s now. But there's plenty of free ways you can support us too by just sending us a note, sending us an email, giving us a, hey, what do you know? Hey, atta boy, atta girl.
Just
like
hey.
Hey, yeah. Like this note from YouTube, G. Raw Strong wrote, this is in connection with our chat with Lucinda Dickey. Amazing interview. Great questions. Always appreciated the feel of her spirit. To me, 84 is definitely the greatest year of that decade in pop culture, arguably in history. Yes, we agree with you.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Likewise, Bradley X. Howard wrote, great interview. There's two greats there. See, that's even better than G.R. Strong's interview. Saw Breaking so many times back then. I follow Shrimp on Facebook. He's talking about Boogaloo Shrimp, Michael Chambers, who also appears in the Breaking films. And always wondered what Lucinda was up to these days. Definitely remember having a crush on her back in the day. Me too. She wears spandex.
That's all you need.
She wears it in both those movies. And I think, you think, Kat, when she's in the Ninja movie, when she's doing she's like aerobics.
Yes.
Right before she gets out of the studio and beats up all those guys in the parking lot or whatever.
Yep.
She has some spandex on as well.
But is the spandex purple?
I think I would remember. Probably not. But I think it might be pink. I don't know. All right. So, hey, there you go. So with that, we will talk to you next time on 1980s Now.
Until next time.
Dominated.